Crimea, although the war was actually over at that point, in order to sustain her family in its grief. It was hardly likely Monk would meet her again, except perhaps when they both came to testify at the trial of Maynard Grey, which suited Monk. He found her abrasive and not femininely pleasing, nothing like her sister-in-law, whose face still returned to his mind with such elusive sweetness. Evan turned and fell into step behind him as they went down the stairs, through the duty room, and out into the street. It was late November, and a bright, blustery day. The wind caught at the wide skirts of the women, and a man ducked sideways and held on to his top hat with difficulty as a carriage bowled past him, and he avoided the mud and ordure thrown up by its wheels. Evan hailed a hansom cab, a new invention 9 years ago, and much more convenient than the old-fashioned coaches. "Queen Anne Street," he ordered the driver. And as soon as he and Monk were seated, the cab sped forward, across Tottenham Court Road and east to Portland Place, Langham Place, and then a dogleg into Chandos Street and Queen Anne Street. On the journey, Monk told Evan what Runcorn had said. "Who is Sir Basil Moidore?" Evan asked innocently. "No idea," Monk admitted. "He didn't tell me." He grunted. "Either he doesn't know himself, or he's leaving us to find out, probably by making a mistake." Evan smiled. He was quite aware of the ill feeling between Monk and his superior, and of most of the reasons behind it. Monk wasn't easy to work with. He was opinionated, ambitious, intuitive, quick-tongued, and acerbic of wit. On the other hand, he cared passionately about real injustice, as he saw it, and minded little whom he offended in order to set it right. He tolerated fools ungraciously, and fools, in his view, included Runcorn, an opinion of which he had made little secret in the past. Runcorn was also ambitious, but his goals were different. He wanted social acceptability, praise from his superiors, and above all, safety. His few victories over Monk were sweet to him, and to be savoured. They were in Queen Anne Street, elegant and discreet houses with gracious facades, high windows, and imposing entrances. They alighted. Evan paid the cabby, and they presented themselves at the servants' door of number 10. It rankled to go climbing down the area-way steps rather than up and in through the front portico. But it was far less humiliating than going to the front and being turned away by a liveried footman, looking down his nose, and dispatched to the back to ask again. "Yes," the boot boy said soberly, his face pasty white and his apron crooked. "Inspector Monk and Sergeant Evan to see Lord Moidore," Monk replied quietly. Whatever his feeling for Runcorn, or his general intolerance of fools, he had a deep pity for bereavement and the confusion and shock of sudden death. "Oh!" The boot boy looked startled, as if their presence had turned a nightmare into truth. "Oh, yes. You'd better come in." He pulled the door wide and stepped back, turning into the kitchen to call for help, his voice plaintive and desperate. "Mr. Phillips! Mr. Phillips! The priest is here!" The butler appeared from the far end of the huge kitchen. He was lean and a trifle stooped, but he had the autocratic face of a man used to command and receiving obedience without question. He regarded Monk with both anxiety and distaste, and some surprise at Monk's well-cut suit, carefully laundered shirt, and polished fine leather boots. Monk's appearance didn't coincide with his idea of a policeman's social position, which was beneath that of a peddler or a costermonger. Then he looked at Evan, with his long curved nose and imaginative eyes and mouth, and felt no better. It made him uncomfortable when people didn't fit into their prescribed niches in the order of things. It was confusing. "Sir Basil will see you in the library," he said stiffly, "if you will come this way." And without waiting to see if they did, he walked very uprightly out of the kitchen, ignoring the cook seated in a wooden rocking chair. They continued into the passage.